cannabinoidal called cannabinol, CBN1A, was first isolated by Sir Thomas Easterfield at Cambridge University. And that was back in 1896.
1896?
Yeah. He was at basic Cambridge University, where he was charged with the classes of teaching chemistry, of sanitary science, which I don't know what that is, pharmaceutical chemistry and physics. And his research covered various topics in organic chemistry and in natural products chemistry, and in particular the components of Indian hemp resin, Cannabis sativa. And in that time he discovered an isolated cannabinol, which was CBN1A, and it was isolated in 1896 and remained for almost 4 decades the only phytocannabinoid available in pure form.
Amazing.
And I think it did have kind of some psychoactive properties, if you have a look at the paper that I sent through to you. He came to New Zealand in 1899, and then in 1913 he was he was recognised as being very prestigious in terms of his science and capability, and he was given this New Zealand Institute of Hector Memorial Medal and Prize in recognition of his scientific work. So he did a lot of, he was based at Victoria University at the time, and he published a lot of papers in chemical journals. So we were quite lucky to have him out here in New Zealand, and he was very respected by New Zealand, chemistry professors at the time. In 1915, Thomas Cawthron died, and he left, it's slightly wrong in Wikipedia actually, he left £231,000, millions of dollars, and he wanted to establish the Cawthron Institute in Nelson. There's 2 Thomases, and they shouldn't be confused, but it was Thomas Cawthron's money, but it was really Thomas Easterfield's vision. Well, yeah, they both had a part to play, but Thomas Easterfield actually made it happen. So they, of course, looked around New Zealand and thought, well, who are we going to get to help us establish this research institute? And Easterfield was a member of the Establishment Advisory Committee. And then, in 1919, he was appointed the first director of the Cawthron Institute. And as the director, he was tasked to establish the first privately endowed research institute in the Southern Hemisphere, which is the Cawthron Institute today.
Wow, there's a lot of legacy there.
Yeah, there's a legacy, and I put a quote that I always put on my board when he said it. He said, and I'll send it through to you, "I foretell a brilliant future for the Institute. The problem solved in it will lead to results of the greatest value for the city, to the Dominion, and to the human race. The Institute itself is destined to become a centre of light, learning and cultural honoured throughout the civilised world, and a lasting tribute to the memory of Thomas Cawthron." So he kind of, set the tone back in 1917. He also discovered a toxin called tutin, which affects the honey industry. And I guess the way we could tie it back is that it would be nice to tie it back to the story of Cawthron, in the sense that throughout the history of Cawthron we've strived to do relevant science for the primary sector and attract the best calibre of scientists of the day to our facility, or, to drive the science that's delivered from Cawthron. So he discovered the cannabinoid, so it wasn't, Cawthron Institute that discovered it, it was actually Sir Thomas Easterfield.
Yep, and then he went on to establish be
part of the team that established the Cawthron Institute and be the first director of the first, like our first kind of CEO, but was a director back then. So the £231,000 is equivalent to $127 million in today's dollars.
That's quite a bit, huh?
Yeah, and that was Sir Thomas Cawthron.